What's up guys, Kayle here. I made a Gwen matchup chart tier list on my stream the other day, so I thought I should post it on YouTube. On the video bar itself, you should see timestamps for each individual champion, and if you have any questions, I'll try to answer as many as I can in the comments. Anyways, like, sub, comment something about a bell, and thank you guys so much for the recent support recently, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Later. Obviously, you know, if the enemy team has like Renekton, or sorry, no. Yeah, Renekton top Ahri and then Mumu, it's like you would run Tenacity. But if it's just Renekton, usually you can get away with no Tenacity rune, right? So. Yeah, this is the most standard rune page in the entire game. If you don't think you can get plates, you go bone plating. And then next patch, I believe Last Stand might come back. Just currently, cut down is a little OP on everyone, so. For now, I'll show cut down, but depending on how Last Stand versus cut down works next patch, then run accordingly. But yeah, so free matchups, easy advantage. Volatile is another word for even, so it's like whoever gets the first lead, they're probably gonna win, right? Disadvantage is like you're off the gate, you are down, you need help with jungle intervention, and then this is just for a potential few bans for Gwen that I'll show at the end of the tier list. I beat everyone, true. Alright, so Aatrox. I used to really hate this matchup, but the more I've played it, the more I love it. Like, this matchup is so nice and fun. A good Gwen and a good Aatrox is actually just a really fun laning phase. And there's not really any points up until like level 9 where Aatrox can do a whole lot. You have a lot of the advantage. You have a lot of the say of how the lane is going to be played by just dashing towards him and making sure he doesn't get multiple vital procs, or not vital procs, sorry, sweet spots. Like I said, most standard rune page. If you're confident in this matchup, you go Demolish instead of Bone Plating. So this is my setup with Ignite, just to make sure his healing is vastly reduced. I just go Nashor's Tooth, just very cookie cutter, fun, enjoyable matchup. Alright, next. Akali. Alright, so everything I said about Aatrox enjoying is the complete opposite for Akali. She outspaces you with her Q, she outspaces you when she gets in her enhanced auto. It's very annoying. Level 6, she does have a great lethal range on you at like 95% of your HP or something like that. So you're kind of on the back end of this lane. So playing defensive is not bad, because so long as you end the laning phase 0-0-0, she's an assassin, she needs to feast or famine. If you make it go even, then typically you are going to have a better chance later in the game. I would just say run second win, because of the fact that Akali outranges you so convincingly and easily early in the game, that your bone plating would just fall off if you were to take it. Yes, when she looks for assassination attempts, the bone plating will save you, but all she has to do is knock it off, and then for 55 seconds she can look for lethal range, and you just cannot play the game. Also, rushing Riftmaker is okay. It's not great. Holly's going to be weaving in and out of her shroud, so you're going to typically have a pretty long fight with her, and the HP will help you survive. So that is the quote-unquote tech I would use into this champion. Alright, next top lane champion. Aurora. Alright, so I love this champion. Like, this champion brings so much joy to me. I have so much fun playing her. I genuinely think that Gwen beats Aurora, because Aurora's objective in the top lane is to be a kind of a lane nullifier and bully the opponent under tower. Due to Gwen's W and the fact you can run second wind D shield together, she can't really ever poke you out of the lane. It's more just little nickel and dimes to the point where it's not a big deal, and you outscale Aurora. Aurora is more utility based, Gwen's all damage. So even though she's a very mobile, annoying champion, you will just immediately one-shot her if you are given the opportunity. And later in the game, you will have those opportunities. This is the same exact setup on Akali that I would use, but just start D-Shield and you are completely safe in this regard. Alright, who is next? Ooh, Bard top. Let's go Bardonet. Camille. I used to have troubles with this matchup, for those that have been watching me over the past year or so. But this matchup, it's so easy. Not much to say. If you play this matchup about 3 to 5 times, you're gonna get it down pretty easily. You can just run bone plating and be A-okay from her engages. Triforce versus Nashers, you're gonna win out so long as you use your needles accordingly and don't accidentally throw your last set of needles and a 4-stack Q when she presses R. So that is the moment you're waiting for. The second Camille presses her E, she is committed to that interaction. So just use that one interaction to 100-0 her. I run Ignite TP. This is just a very easy matchup, and it does not get easier for her later in the game. It just becomes more fun. Like, you guys both will interact with one another rather than Gwen just running her over. Also, plated steel caps. They work on her Q, so if you're struggling to beat her, just get plated steel caps after your Nashor's Tooth. I do not advise going defensive boots early into this matchup specifically because you just win it so hard early. Just get your Nashors as soon as possible. Alright, Cassiopeia. I almost didn't put this on... Oh, sorry. I forgot one more row. Add row below. Yeah. Lose. Yeah, you just straight up lose this matchup, unfortunately. Now, let me be clear. When I say that you lose to Cassiopeia, I do not mean later in the game. I mean in the laning phase. I've played this matchup a fair bit, and the fact that her W grounds and she has so much movement speed early in the game, it just makes it impossible to interact with her or beat her in any regard. Even if you end up going even, she can just miasma you and then walk away with her movement speed. Now, that being said, this is for top lane specifically. In mid lane, this changes significantly because of the lane being so much shorter. You have a lot more safety nets from ganks, from her running you down throughout the entire lane. So if you do see an enemy Cassiopeia top, lane swap with your laner if they are able to, and show early so that way Cassiopeia recognizes what's happening and she'll come mid with you. When that happens, it's so much easier. Cassiopeia mid is so much easier than Cassiopeia top. Like, it becomes this mid lane, I feel. It's just so much easier. Like, you need to run this, you need to run D-Shield. You even need to get Haunting, guys, because you gotta just make sure that you do not run low on HP. It's just an abysmal matchup, and the more I play it, the more I hate it. That being said, it is very, very rare, so I pray that you guys will never have to deal with this. Alright, first easy matchup, or like, easiest matchup in the game, Cho Gath. Now this is for champions where it's like, you don't need a rune page to beat them, right? Like, you do not need any of these runes to beat Cho Gath. You just beat him by thematic. Excuse me. You just thematically beat him. He is an immobile tank that cannot get you off of him. Or he can't get you away from him, right? Like, you just get all the agency, you get all the pressure, you have all the potential to just end the laning phase 10-0. He cannot say no to you. If he beats you, it's because you messed up. And that's what these matchups are for. Like, even then, you can get jungle ganked, he can even get 2 solo kills on you. You're still gonna thematically beat him, and there's not much to say. Do whatever you want. Build Blade of the Rune King, you're gonna beat this guy, right? Go First Strike. I love First Strike. Not as much anymore, but just do whatever you want into this guy. It's not hard. Alright, Darius. This lane is very volatile. The start of the game, he has all the pressure in the world. He is one of the strongest level 1 champions in the entire game. So what he'll end up doing... Oh, sorry, let me turn this down a bit. Jeez. Just... There we go. Sorry. What he'll end up doing is he will sit in the bush level 1, and he will wait for you. Your only response is use your ward on the bush so all 6 minions aggro. That being said, you still lose that 1v1. If he's taking all 6 minions and you go to fight him, he will still first blood you. It has happened to me 2 or 3 times at this point. So he has all the agency from levels 1 to 3. And the longer the game goes, the easier it becomes. It becomes so much easier at level 6 when you run Ignite. He cannot burst you down before you get your entire combo into him, or your entire rotation. I'm so lucky to find you streaming. I just watched your Tournament versus Gwen matchup. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you could make it. It's way later than this was supposed to be. But I'm glad some people could still make it here. But yeah, the more levels you have in this matchup, the easier it gets. Darius, if he gets a lead in those first few levels, he's going to run the game. If you end it 0-0-0 and you get level 6 to around level 8 and you get 1 reset off with, I don't know, Blasting Wand or Amp Tome and a Ruby Crystal, you can beat him if you guys go hit for hit. If he flashes a set of needles, or if he runs through a center spot Q and you don't get the final snip, he's gonna win. So it's very volatile. The one thing I would say for this lane, run Second Wind, not Bone Plating. His bleed resets Second Wind, which means that you will get a massive amount of extra HP in this laning phase. I don't think D-Shield is necessary. I think D-Ring should be used to try to fight him on that level 6 to 8 range, because you can win at that instance. Alright, Dr. Mundo, same as Cho Gath. I built Blade of the Rune King into this guy. For Cho Gath, I said, yeah, you can. I have built Blade of the Rune King into this guy. Anything you want to do works into this. I've run First Strike. Run First Strike, honestly. It's really fun. If you're not trying to climb and you're just in a normal game and you see a Mundo, try First Strike. It's super fun. Runes do not matter into this guy. Just get a Nash's Tooth. You're going to end the laning phase 6-0 if he missteps once. Fiora. This one, volatile. I've seen it both ways. So I've seen some people say it's here, some people say it's here. So I'm just going to meet them in the middle. Vital's very annoying mechanic. I think Ignite is required for this matchup because of how much healing she can produce in the duel. There are instances where you will beat her at around 1 item, but around 3 items it becomes a lot more difficult because Vital procs just deal so much % max health damage. And since she's dashing all around, it's hard for you to land your Qs and your needles efficiently. So that is why I say it's volatile. It's volatile throughout the entire game. But here, very standard rune page. There's not any secret sauce to beating her. What's up, guys? Kayle here. I forgot to add this while I was live streaming, but the most important thing about this matchup is vitals. You need to make sure that you are always denying vital procs. So this is like the perfect example. If Fiora ults you, just stand next to the wall, and if she tries to hit all 4 vitals, she can never hit that last one. Also, you need to make sure that she can never parry your full combo. So you never want to put all your burst damage all in one go, because if you let her parry everything, it's kind of over. So we're gonna build up our Q real quick. And now watch. So I'm going to throw my first 2 sets and now parry. I just lost like 900 damage. She can also parry Ignite. It was just a little off time, but she can parry summoner spells. She can parry your 5-set needle and your 4-stack Q, and then it's just GG in the lane. So just be sure to stall your DPS a bit, or your burst. Anyways, back to the vid. Your player will be shown in this matchup. GP. Very easy. You have 2 ways of safely beating his barrels. That being auto attack, E auto attack, to just insta pop it at 2 HP. And if you end up misplaying that situation, you have your W to fall back on. So GP just can never consistently land barrels on you. And the fact that you can just run second wind D shield makes it impossible for him to find lethal ranges. You don't even need to run the D shield. I run the D ring. Again, just very standard. Oh, whoops. This is what I meant to have it in all of these chats. My bad. I just much prefer the attack speed shard at the moment. It's personal preference, I feel. There's no like minion breakpoints for this. So if you are consistently used to this, run it. I'm not, so double adaptive is my preference on this. Oops. Oh well. It's fine. Those watching through the entire vid will notice that. Those skipping around will get scammed. Alright, Gnar. Annoying lane. And that's about it. It's like he can't beat you. His auto attack range is so small in the early game that when you see auto, you just press E and Q. You just E and Q, E and Q, E and Q every time that he presses an auto on you. And when he goes Mega Gnar, you just deal percent damage. You're gonna immediately run him down if you end up dodging the W stun. And if he does ult you away, as long as he doesn't hit the wall, you can still catch back up to him. It's a little bit more annoying to get him later in the game, but you still just always beat him. You have to be playing very poorly mid-game to have this character run you down and kill you. Yeah, second wind, it's very useful just because he is a range character. So when he auto attacks you and you EQ, you're going to get your HP back. The bone plating is not going to do next to anything. It will also match his fleet healing. Gnar players will always take fleet. Is there any situation to run Dark Harvest if you... So that's what these are for. Like, honestly, just have fun. Like, these matchups, you can run any rune in the game. I've run Dark Harvest... I've run Dark Harvest into both of these. I've run Grasp into Mundo before. I've bought Blade of the Rune King into Mundo. Like... Just have fun with these lanes. Experiment. Try stuff out. Let's see. Alright. Garen. The Demacian man himself. This matchup, very cringe. Honestly. Silence is OP. Silence is OP. Silence is the strongest... And I do mean the strongest CC in the game. It is so impossible to play the game when you get silenced. And this matchup just shows it. The second he lands auto Q, E, you are at the will of the Garen player. Does he have Ignite ult? You're dead. Does he have Phase Rush? Oh, well, he's going to run away, and now you can't respond back once the silence ends. You're forced to run Tenacity Rune this game. If you don't run... In this lane, if you don't run the Tenacity Rune, you are forced into buying Merc Tread, so you are losing a lot of gold early. Just a very annoying laning phase. That being said, it's not unwinnable. Like, if we were doing this left to right, which I'm not, by the way, it would literally be here, one spot from here. But it just feels so cringe to see a Garen with Stridebreaker, Phantom Dancer, Swifties. It's like, how are you ever going to deal damage to this thing that just does not want to fight you unless he stat sticks you and says no to your spells? Also, he can potentially just proxy farm and just invalidate the laning phase, which you do have some say because of how long QCD is for him at the start of the game. But oh, there's the Garen rant. I feel better. I don't know about you, chat, but I feel way better. I hate Garen. It's literally one spot from here, but for those that have been Q-smited down on at level 6, you know what I mean. Oh yeah, also, one breakpoint for this lane. Never fight him level 5. Not because level 5 is scary, but because of what comes next. Number 6 comes after 5. So any trade level 5 is going to immediately impact level 6. And the fact that he can just flash Q you with ult on level 6 means that you can never duel this character level 5. Never look for a trade level 5 unless it's a guaranteed kill. Because you do not want to be in chipped down when he gets level 6 off of one minion of XP. Alright. Alright, now the Garen rant is over. Illaoi. I would say this is a very easy lane. We'll see here. It's literally just dodge the E, right? This matchup is based on how well you are at dodging the Illaoi E. If the Illaoi player cannot land her E's, it's this. If the Illaoi player lands 1 to 2 E's every now and again, it's here. If she lands every single E because you are just not respecting her, it's here. You have 2 instances to dodge it, being your E and your W. So if you're getting hit, like, every single time, it's because you're not utilizing those 2 spells. So I'm going to put it here, but just dodge the E. If you dodge the E, it's here. If you don't dodge the E, dodge the game. Wise words of Expedo. And then again, standard rune page. Run Ignite to be able to cut her healing down with her tentacles. If she ends up ulting you, run. You already won that interaction. The fact that she had to press R means that for the next, 2 minutes, you can play the laning phase completely free. You can set up a kill for the next 2 minutes. And it's very easy for Gwen to do that. Honestly, I'm going to put it here, but just keep that in mind. Based on how well you are dodging the tentacles, it's going to differ for you guys. Alright, Irelia. This is a very, very nice matchup. If there was an even matchup in League of Legends, it would be Gwen versus Irelia. Completely 50-50. It revolves around your Q stacks. Whether Irelia has 4 Q stacks or Gwen does, or sorry, passive stacks for Irelia. But whether Irelia has 4 passive stacks or Gwen has 4 Q stacks, that determines who is currently winning the situation. So it is all based off of minion management and how much access you have to the lane. Right? This is an extremely fun matchup once you get past the meme of, oh, Irelia has a Vamp Scepter, she's full build. It is a meme. It's a really funny meme, but this is just a very nice and fair matchup. This is the most even matchup Gwen has. It is straight down the middle, 50-50. Run TP Ignite. Just run standard setup with bone plating and have a good time. Also, there's some weird characters because this is supposed to be like Legends of Runeterra too, I think. I don't know why a tier list has this, but... Oh, Jax. Oh, we love Jax. So this is where some tech, or not tech, but this is where the setups come into play, right? Run this setup, start D-Shield. You have to play super, super defensively at the start of the game. Take E level 1, because what will happen in the laning phase is Jax is going to start the game by auto-attacking you and have all 6 of your minions aggro onto him, and then he's going to press E. For those that don't know, Jax Counter-Strike gets damage increased based on how many times he is hit during his E. So once he's dodging all these minion auto attacks, it's going to ramp up, and you are going to get bursted from level 1. So take the E, and when he runs up to auto attack you, have the bone plating proc, dash away with E, and then when he reactivates the E, you're allowed to play for about 12 seconds. That is very, very crucial to do. And then also, around level 6, you can start looking for fights with him. Yes, you do need to keep track of his passive auto attack. Or sorry, his R passive. I believe it's every other hit or every 3 hits. I think they reworked it to every other hit. But you need to make sure that when you start the fight that he does not have a empowered auto prepped already, right? Because that's just a lot of damage that you need to that you're taking for unnecessary risk, right? Run steel caps. Pick up early haunting guys if you want for extra defense and sustain. Otherwise, go Nashers. You can beat him. I believe in you, chat. It's just very hard. That whole level 1 interaction, I promise, will happen so often. And now that I told you guys, I hope that you respect it with this setup. Alright, who's next? Gragas. Honestly, nothing really happens in lane other than you get poked down by barrels. There should never be a situation where you're getting solo killed by this guy, but there's never a situation where you're gonna solo kill him. His entire identity top is play to nullify the lane. So, that being said, if you want, you can run biscuits to match his biscuits and try to poke him down early. Pre-Lost Chapter is when you can play the game. But once he has Lost Chapter, that's when neither of you are playing the game truly. So you can run something like this. But Lost Chapter just means that he has infinite mana. He's just going to perma-push every wave. He's going to utilize biscuits as well to try to just survive the first 1100 gold. But if you're aggro in that situation, you can delay the Lost Chapter. It's inevitable, right? Any lead that you end up getting pre-Lost Chapter is just going to get nullified off of the Lost Chapter. What I'm saying is, don't expect to win this lane, just expect to fall asleep in this lane. Jayce. Okay, there's a lot to talk about here. Jayce is a champion that is completely and utterly annoying, very cringe to play against, but it's more of a mental block thing than actually difficult. The second he switches stances, he's not allowed to switch back for, I believe it's 6 seconds. That is your time to go, because either in hammer stance he has increased he has increased armor, but then when he goes into gun, he has increased movement speed with his E and stuff. So you can either wait for Hammer Jayce to use his Q, or you can wait for Gun Jayce to use his E. Those are pretty good indicators of when to go in, and then when he swaps into the next stance, he is forced to stay in there. And that is when you need to all-in him. You are gonna feel very annoyed in this lane, but it is winnable. Just running Second Wind early for the poke. Or if you want to try to set up an early cheese play in a bush, you can run Bone Plating and try to use that situation from the level 1 bush to accelerate yourself. If you get a single lead, if you get 3 melee minions worth of XP, this lane is over for Jayce. Jayce is so feast or famine, he has to put all of his money into AD, while Gwen is allowed to go off the beaten path and pick up some defensive boots. Later she can get Azanias, she can get Riftmaker for some HP if you really feel like you need it in the game. Not just for the Jayce, but obviously League is a team game, so extended fight champions like Sejuani, Riftmaker can work. So use your best judgment in the game. Ksante? Easy. Why is it not up here? Because you have to run Conqueror. You have to run Conqueror. This is one that is really fun for the Gwen player too. Every time Ksante presses Q, you press Q. And that is how the matchup works. Use his cooldowns to walk up and get auto attacks on minions. I don't even say last hits, mind you. Just get hits on the minions to build up your Q stacks. When Ksante presses Q, you press Q on him. He is locked into that position when he presses Q. Because in the early game, it has double the cast speed. Right? It takes twice as long for it to come out. Later in the game, at 3 items, to Ksante Q evolves, for those that don't know, based off resistances and bonus HP. And his cast time is halved. But at that point, it's 3-item Gwen. Completely dogs this champion. Very easy matchup. Just always remember, when he presses Q, you press Q. If you consistently do that throughout the laning phase, he will never have an HP bar to all-in you. And if he goes into all-out, always shoot your Q and ult behind you. Ksante players love, and I mean love, to immediately press W and end up behind you. So whenever you feel scared in that matchup, or in that fight, throw the spells behind you. Ksante will just magically teleport behind you and will get hit by a center spot Q and a 3-hit stack ult. Like, it's very easy, very fun. It's just not here because Conqueror is very, very important for this lane. Also Bone Plating too, because like I said, when he presses Q, you're going to press Q. So if he goes for the auto attack, Bone Plating is going to defend you from it. Karma Top's not really a thing right now, so I can't really rank it. Kayle. Gwen outscales Kayle. I will argue this till the day I die. Your W is literally just a 20-second cooldown Kayle ult. If you utilize the W positioning properly, Kayle's ult just gets invalidated. She will also be unable to auto-attack you for 4 whole seconds. Like, an auto-attack based champion not being able to auto for 4 seconds is a death sentence for a champion like Kayle. Never duel this champion level 1. Kayle has one of the weakest early games with a little parentheses of, but she beats a lot of people level 1. Like, this champion does unreasonable amounts of damage, considering that she is a scaling champion level 1. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've lost this isolated 1v1, not just on Gwen, but on characters like, I don't know, Gnar, because I egoed it and went melee range. Or Garen. She beats Garen. It's insane. I can't believe that this champion is allowed to win level 1, but get to level 2, get to level 3, and this champion can't play. And then level 6, the lane dynamic shifts because obviously she becomes a ranged character. It's a lot like Ksante, where when you see her auto, just press E and Q towards her. I know with Ksante it's press Q, but you just need to use your E to close the distance. Use the auto attack on her to get your E back up sooner. I also suggest doing QE auto attack on her, now that I say that, because once you show up to the endpoint, your Q is going to come up off the ending animation sooner, so you can get that auto attack in more consistently, because all you're going to do is lose potentially 2 of the light hits of Gwen Q, and they really don't matter early in the game compared to resetting your E. I have to add that in because, yes, they do matter, but they don't matter as much as that. Kennen. Honestly, you win against Kayle the same way once she gets level 6. Just every time he auto attacks, EQ. Run Doran's shield in second wind if you want. I typically just run the second wind, and I get 4 stacks Q, and I just dash towards him. His auto attack range is perfectly spaced to the point where you can QE auto him every single time. Take Tenacity Rune as well into Merc Treads if you want, or if you just want to rush the Merc Treads, you can do this. Merc Treads are the key to this lane. It's a little bit harder now that Merc Treads cost more, but you still can win. And you still do win. I feel like this lane is very misunderstood. Yes, this is a ranged top laner. That's very annoying, very poke heavy. But the second Kennen presses E, it's just like Camille. He is now committed to either running away, or if he ran forward, he's committed to that fight. He cannot get out anymore. What about Singed? We'll get to Singed. Yeah, Merc Tread's very OP. You can get early Haunting Guys for some extra HP, and while you are getting full comboed by the Kennen, you will end up being double stunned. The Haunting Guys will be ticking up, so once the stun ends, you just put your entire burst into this Kennen. Alright, Kled. Oh, sorry. I'm a new Singed TP and I've been climbing. Let's go. Yeah, I'll have some specific things to talk about with Singed when we get there. Sorry, just 1 second. But yeah, we're going all from top down. Where was I again? Kled. Volatile. The way you lose this laning phase is you dismount him early. The second you dismount him early in the game and you don't get a kill, GG. Steel caps are very necessary for this matchup, and the fact that they were nerfed makes it harder. If boots weren't nerfed, I would say it's here, because you can just rush them. It feels so bad to rush boots now. With Kennen, I still think it's the same, but with Kled, I think it's just so much damage behind his auto attack enhancement that it can't stay here. It goes to here. You need your Nasus Tooth, you need Steel Caps, but the fact that you can't rush Steel Caps into this champion anymore feels very, very, very bad. That being said, if you just keep his mount on just the edge of his HP bar, and then play for a 4-stack Q Ignite, you're gonna burst this champion down. So it's all on you to make sure that you do not pop Skarl until you're ready to commit for the entire kill. If you don't get the kill and he ends up remounting, you have lost that interaction. You have lost the laning phase for the foreseeable future. You usually have to get bailed out. What's this ranking based on? My opinions after the past year of not making one of these, because we have one from 8 months ago and I've been asked to update it a bit. Malphite's very easy tank matchup. The only way that Malphite can win this is if he goes full AP and you just kind of turn your brain off. I've lost one Malphite laning phase this entire season, and it was because a Malphite took Arcane Comet, started D-Ring, and then went Proto Belt. I was just completely stun-locked and shocked. He went Hextech Alternator Rush, and I lost all my HP bar. He got his ult off CD, and then it just killed me from 60% HP because of the Hextech Alternator and the poke that I received. Against regular tank Malphite, the only time it's hard to kill him is when he lands his ground slam on you. When he presses E, you get reduced attack speed. So try to wait for that to come out and then look for the trade. Also, do your best to make sure that you are hitting him every 8 seconds after you first pop his shield. His shield resets at the 8-second mark, so if you hit him at 7.9 seconds, he has to wait another full 8 seconds to get his shield back. So just nickel and diming him down is very, very easy because of how long it takes for his shield to come back up. Overall, I was thinking if it was just against a champion. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is just for top lane matchups. With enough, if enough people want, I could do every character in the game. I could explain early, mid, and late on every one of these champions and how they fare into when it in like isolation or in like a 5v5 team fight. Who were we just on? Kled? Who's next? Mordekaiser. I mean, just kind of easy. Not here, because he can get a small lead. He can get rallies before you get Nash's Tooth, and he can just kind of lock you into a fight with Assault. But the fact that you have your W for his E and his Q, and you also have your dash for his E and his Q, you have all the agency in this lane. You have all the tempo, all the advantage, all the damage. You just got to make sure to utilize it properly. And when I say that, I mean don't 4-stack Q a full stack shield from Mordekaiser. Don't preemptively use your needles unless it's actually for a fight. If he just walks away because it was a max range needle, you're going to be in disadvantage, right? So using your tools accordingly is how you win this matchup. Just to make sure that if he does ult you, you stand your ground early game. You use your E on reaction. You don't proactively use it for damage. Use it on reaction for the Mordekaiser Q, and then you will just immediately win the fight because he needs to get 3 passive stacks to actually win the isolated 1v1. So if you delay that by an entire Q press, he's locking himself into an animation, making himself unable to auto attack, and his Q also goes on a CD. So it's just very, very easy. Oh, I didn't do Kled's thing. Kled and Mordekaiser, same exact thing. Right here. This is the same exact room page I would run into Mordekaiser and Kled. Oh, Susan! AKA Nasus. Volatile. I'll fight on this hill. If you guys are here from YouTube, like watching this on YouTube, I probably already posted this game. I fought a Nasus and it was complete torture. I won the trades early. Evelyn ganked me a bit, and then Wither just invalidated me in the lane. Wither invalidates Gwen. When Nasus ults, he gets a massive amount of stats, and his Q also goes on half the cooldown. So you can never truly fight him in his ult if you guys are even items, at least early game. Later in the game, it's more doable, but the fact that Wither is so OP and it reduces your attack speed, it's just very, very, very hard to win the matchup. Not even to mention that Nasus E gives him percentage armor pen. So if he withers you, ults, throws E below your feet, and you don't have your dash, you're gone. Like, you can't escape it. You can't trade back. GG. I hate playing against Nasus. Yeah. You can win. First 5 levels, this champion does not exist. Get him. Level 6, look for a kill. If you find the kill, the game is going to play itself. Even if you guys go even at 1 item, I still think you can win. But just wither OP. Wither OP. I wish I had more to say, but I'm still trying to figure this matchup out myself. I've had games where I win this. I've had games where I one-shot this guy. I've had games where I've been one-shot by this guy at 1 item because of what happens wherein you press E, and then he withers you, throws E below you, ult. Yeah, Nasus E, you can run Second Wind if you want. Bone Plating's not going to do anything in this lane. Honestly, I typically run Demolish. I don't think it's truly worth it. There was an AP build going around, that's why I was doing this at the time. It was with Blackfire, so that the dot damage would make the Second Wind much more beneficial. But this is the standard page I would run. If you see that it's AP Nasus, or like you can scout it based on the meta and the most current build of him, then do this if it's AP. Oh, this if it's AP. I hate Nasus, but beating him through ult feels so good. I know what you mean. It's so satisfying beating the big dog. Oh, that's a cool Nautilus icon. Oh, wait. Yeah, Nautilus. He is actually a top laner a little bit now because the boss FFS played it. So now people are trying it in ranked games. You have the advantage. This is one of the harder top lane matchups. This might be from my inexperience, by the way. This might be from my inexperience. But auto attack W early in the game is so hard for Gwen to beat. If Nautilus gets access to the wave early from level 1, he gets a grasp. He will auto grasp you, press W, and it's just so much damage. Then he gets Hollowed Radiance and plays it like Gragas, where he just clears the wave and kind of just doesn't care about you. He waits for his jungler, and then he just uses his CC to lock you down and make sure that his jungler can secure the gold. So I'm still trying to figure this lane out. That being said, it is a tank. You do beat tanks. It's probably here. I just don't understand this matchup well enough yet to know the breakpoints. But from the few games I've played against this, I went Nashor's into Rift, and I could beat this guy in isolation at 2 items. Kind of surprised I almost missed Nautilus, because I played against it, like, I think yesterday, 3 days ago as well. Olaf. Not much of a top laner anymore, but I will talk about him. Where'd Olaf go? Guys, I lost Olaf. Chat hold. There he is. Okay, so Olaf, I think it's volatile. Level 1, you need to respect this. His axe throw is just insane. The fact that his ult makes him gain movement speed and his Q will slow you. It will apply armor pen. Oh, sorry, 1 sec, chat. There's a table being moved upstairs. Yeah, level 1, level 6, very scary. You need bone plating, but that being said, you need bone plating to not fall off. You cannot let an axe hit you. If he does throw a long axe, you have to make sure that he cannot have access to it. You need to go in on him when he's trying to run towards that thing. And if he ends up backing away, that is when you press your ignite, press your ult. Even if he presses ult from that moment on, you can win that matchup. You just got to make sure that the axe is on the ground and that you utilize your bone plating cooldown efficiently. Steel caps, very crucial in this isolated 1v1, but obviously based on enemy team comps, you might not be able to pick them up. You do not need to rush them like you would a Kled, so this is pretty samey. It might even be here. I'm going to leave it here. the more I talk about it, you just gotta dodge one spell and then press go if he places a long thrown axe. Alright, who's next? Ornn. Now, this is one tank, well, one of two tanks that actually beat Gwen early in the game. He does a lot of damage with Brittle Proc and Grasp, and he has a lot of lockdown, so he can press QE on you, get a Grasp proc, walk away, and you gotta just kind of respect that. The more levels you get, the easier this lane gets. At one item, you will start winning, but if you have let Ornn establish a lead of a few waves, or if he's solo killed you, this is going to be more difficult. If you are an Ornn player, rush, not Hollowed Radiance. Hollowed Radiance is bad. Am I thinking... Cainic Rukern, sorry. Rush Cainic Rukern into Gwen. Cainic Rukern at one item. Very strong into Gwen because you can just go sit back after you clear the wave. You just kind of ignore Gwen. Q, W, E, walk away. She's dealt a couple hundred damage, but all of that damage went to the shield. And then just regen it while you're waiting for the next wave. At around 2 items is when Gwen can start actually bullying this guy. But I played this matchup from both sides. I've messed up before and went Hollowed Radiance as Ornn. I still won the matchup convincingly, but Rukern is just so much better. But that being said, you beat Ornn thematically. It does not really matter what you run for secondary tree. If you're confident, run this. If you are a little worried about his brittle procs, do this. Alright, Pantheon. This one actually got a little bit harder. I still think you have an advantage, but the fact that you can't rush seal caps anymore due to the gold change and the armor change on it. Or no, not armor. I believe it was the basic attack damage nerfed. It's more difficult. I still don't think it's like this. I think it's still like this. You gotta utilize the enemy's E cooldown. You can never let Pantheon land a E against your 4-stack Q. And if he does put his shield up, dash behind him, right? Because then you have access to his back, which means that you can utilize 4-stack Q, burst him down. Running Ignite is nice into this lane because you just have super high kill threats. But like I said, his E is super crucial to play around. Once he has 5 stacks, he's going to look for his standard combo of jump on top of you with W. And what you can do when you start sensing that he wants to do that, stand in your minion wave, and when the Pantheon walks up, press W. A lot of the time, Pantheon players will press W when they're entering max range, and they'll leap from a distance. If you press W, their cursor isn't going to be on you. It's going to be on a minion, and they're going to jump onto a minion with stun, auto-attack it 4 or 5 times. I forget the actual number. You just automatically win the game. It's super fun. You can consistently do it. It's consistently applicable in the matchup. The only thing is that if he's in melee range, yes, he's always going to land the stun. But if he's looking for max range W, it's so easy. Playing around the spear is a little annoying at the start of the lane, so I would say let him have the lane priority at the start. And then once you are both level 3, then you can start trading consistently. Unless he has target champs only. If he's running target champs only, then he's got it, right? But I don't feel like people utilize target champions only enough for it to be like this. I don't think that one little interaction changes this to this, but I know what you mean. Let's see here. Pantheon. Oh yeah, also, bone plating for if he jumps on top of you. Just be very mindful of his Q, because if he lands 1 Q on you, this will fall off for 55 seconds, I believe it says. Yeah, 55 seconds. That's so long. Pantheon. Oh, Poppy. Oh, I lost her again. Damn it. Dang it, there. I did the same thing with Olaf. I lost him for a sec. Poppy, you have the advantage. Respect her. Level 1. She has a ranged auto attack. She can pick up her buckler shield. She can press Q and deal % physical damage. This champion does a shocking amount of bursts early game. Start fighting her at around Blasting Wand. That is when you can start trading back. Prioritize standing on her buckler. Never dash when you want to. And what I mean by that is the Poppy is going to play a mind game with you with her W. She is going to try to use it when she thinks that you are going to press your E. If she does that, she hard wins the trade. If you just hold your E until after you see her W, you're going to win the trade every time. So holding your E is crucial in every single trade against this Poppy, or against Poppy players. You lose damage, but you get the consistency of actually landing the damage, and you don't get the threat of being grounded, knocked up, and then stunned into the wall. I'm currently working on an AI tool for LoL for my college assignment that I figured out builds like oh, that's sick. What's the tier list about? Gwen's top lane matchups. Yeah, Poppy, just standard rune page. Rush Nashers have a field day. This champion's not hard to beat. Just remember to hold your E. Never proactively use it reactively after Poppy presses W. Or if you're just out of range. If you're out of melee range against her, you can W. Or sorry, you can E and her W won't knock you up and then ground you. Just be mindful of where she's standing when you do want to press E. Quinn, new ranged top abuser on the block, right? Like, Siphon Souls made this very, very annoying. She rushes Profane Hydra into Siphon Souls. She never wants to play the lane against you. She just wants to run back permanently. But if you get tier 2 boots to match her and steel caps, she really can't do that anymore. What is Siphon Soul? They are the boots that give you an empowered recall. And once you run around the map long enough, they give you a massive amount of out-of-combat movement speed. So it synergizes with Quinn a lot. So her playstyle is going to be one-shot the wave, recall, run back. One-shot the wave, recall, run back. But Quinn is one of the easier champions because she has to E towards you. You can use that little Pantheon trick as well when she walks towards you. If you smell that Quinn's going to press E, you can W it. She's a minion, GG. You can also dodge the Q with your E to make it so you're not blinded and she can't outrun you. I think running Ghost here is very nice, so feel free to run that. What's the difference between out of combat movement speed and normal movement speed? You'll get movement speed always. Out of combat movement speed is when you're not fighting anything. So if you're auto attacking a minion, you are in combat. If you are fighting at a dragon, you are in combat. And then that quote unquote in combat phase, I believe it lasts for 8 seconds. I'm probably wrong about that number, but it is a couple seconds after you hit something. Alright, but level 6, the second Quinn is forced to press E, you can press Ghost and run her down with ulti. You can slow her. Very easy to kill. once she presses her E, but making sure to dodge her Q so she doesn't juke you is also very crucial. And then later in the game, if she lands out of Valor form, sitting duck, very annoying. You're not going to have too much difficulty if you can find one solo kill. And then this is what I'd do. Doing or taking damage will cancel out. Yeah. So is there a possibility that I can actually be slower in combat? Yes. Yep. Siphon Souls will not activate while you're in combat, so it does make you slower. I'm so glad Rek'Sai top isn't a thing anymore. That was a disgusting 2 to 3 patches. Alright, Renekton. I used to think this matchup was very hard early game. But you just gotta respect him from bone plating. Play around his Fury bar. His Fury bar determines who's winning. So, at the start of the game, Renekton can only have auto attacks in Q. Because of that, the second minions touch, just go and hit his minions. If he walks up to match you, auto him instead, press Q. The worst he's gonna do is auto attack Q. And if he does auto attack Q, your minions aggro onto him, as well as his minions aggroing onto you. So you're going to trade evenly, but the thing is you're putting his Q on cooldown, which is much longer than yours at the start of the game, and it gives you push priority. Because all of the minions aggroed onto you, so if he doesn't, even if he just presses Q, you're going to have the priority. It's a win-win situation from the start of the game. You got to respect his Eclipse power spike. I would advise playing that by ear. If you have Ignite up, fight him, because you can just reduce his healing, make sure he's not going to get much value off of his Fury Q. But this level 1 situation is super, super nice. It's a win-win situation. If he auto-Qs you, the trade was even. If he just Qs you, you win the trade. Because you're getting the push for just a little bit of extra minion damage on you. And then, let's say he auto-Qs, you repeat the process that you just did, but his Q still is 4 seconds from coming off CD, yours is ready. So you just, it's a win-win-win situation. Like, that interaction in lane, super, super consistent, super easy. Do I want to talk about Rengar top? We should. I'll keep this very brief because it's very unlikely people run into this. This is a very cheese pick. Just don't get cheesed. Rengar wants to play bushes. If you can end up finding a push towards his tower, you have to make sure that he never gets access to the bush again. So you have to stand in between him and the bush to make sure he can never freely walk into there. Let's say he gets the push, he will get the push. Because he's level 1 Rengar, he technically has 2 spells with Q and Empowered Q. Pull the minion wave down to the river. There are certain spots that you guys will notice that Rengar cannot jump while you're last hitting minions together. Stand in those positions and you will be 100% safe from him. All you have to do is pull the wave towards the wall. Either your red side or blue side. Very nice that it's just a few pixels where you can play and Rengar cannot harass you while you're blast hitting. Never look for trades against this guy. The second you land a full charge Q and you ignite this guy to go for the all-in, you know what he's going to do? Fury W. What does that do? It heals all the damage you just dealt to him, as well as cleansing any effects. So it will cleanse the Ignite, which is so cringe. Don't play to win this lane. Play to go 0-0-0. Use that minion pull towards the wall to make sure that he can never find a solo kill on you. If you end up getting a favorable trade and he doesn't have his W prepped, that is your go timer to try to push the wave into his tower. And at that point, you can finally play League of Legends. And that is the moment the enemy jungle is going to gank top, because League of Legends is a tragic game. But if that doesn't happen, you're going to beat Rengar. If the laning phase ends 0-0-0, Rengar lost. This champion is Feast or Famine incarnate. So 0 kills equals FF15 for him. Ah, Riven. Riven. Oh, also Rengar wins. Bone plating doesn't really work because of his leap. He's basically a ranged champion. I typically do this. Cosmic Insight to get more TP uptime and Ignite uptime. But you can also do this. Or this, but I think this is the worst setup. Alright, but sorry, Riven. You do lose this lane. From level 6, she has basically 100% lethal range on you, unless you have bone plating prepped. This is the matchup that started my Ignite-like preference. Because what you do for this lane is you have Ignite not to look for solo kills on her, but to say, hey, I'm going to set you on fire if you go for the all-in on me. And that is enough to persuade Riven to not always just run you down. The more cooldown she gets, the harder this gets for you. She becomes more mobile, can dodge your spells. But the early game is not unwinnable. You're utilizing your bone plating as much as possible. If she runs up to the wave and it's looking that she's going to press EQ to pop your bone plating, you have to concede the wave prio. You have to. Your bone plating is your safety net. This is a matchup you should also think about running Riftmaker into, just for the HP it gives. I've had situations where I go haunting guys into Nashor's Tooth, and that also works. But if you want, just go for the full Riftmaker. It does not feel good to get it early, but it feels like a necessity. Isn't Exhaust good against Riven? I've never enjoyed Exhaust top lane. It does not feel good. It never feels good. All the situations where it's like, oh yeah, I could run this, just end with, yeah, but then they could just not hit you. Like, they could just stop. They're not really locked into the fight once Riven presses all her Q buttons. So she can dash away. She can stun, then dash away. Right? So she's not locked into that fight if you exhaust all 3 of her Qs. Garen, he's not locked into the fight if you exhaust his E, because he presses Q and he runs away because his Q cleanses the slow. Like, I've just never been a fan of exhaust top, and I don't think I've ever had a beneficial moment with it. So I typically run Ignite just to tell the opponent, hey, if you walk up right now, I'm going to set you on fire. But because of the way Riven works and the fact that her Q is AoE, she's going to more often than not push into you. So it is in your best interest to keep the wave as close to your tower as possible without actually letting the tower shoot the minions. AKA freeze on her. And when you have a freeze, keep it. How does Gwen keep a freeze into Riven? She gets 4 Q stacks, and she never uses it. If Riven runs up to break it and she uses E, wait 2 seconds, her E's gonna fall off, 4-stack Q her. That is the only consistent method I have of beating Riven. This champion does kind of just do everything into you. So you do lose it, but there are situations where you can actually come out on top. If you get 2 kills on this Riven in lane, you win. If she gets killed once, she's still in the lane. So that's why it's this. Because if you kill these champions once, Minus Gragas. Minus Gragas. Their game is just over. So that's why Riven's here. It takes 2 mistakes for you to actually win, not just 1. Here, I need a drink. All right, Rumble. Champions, very annoying. For those that are playing from 14.17 onward, this champion is getting nerfed again, so maybe it becomes more playable. Right now, though, this champion's very difficult for Gwen to deal with. I wish I had more to say about this lane, but it's just so few and far between that you'll actually find Rumbles. This is the setup I would run. I would run D-Ring so that you don't run completely You're sacrificing the presence of mind because you're not really trying to fight the Rumble until level 6 maybe. And if you do fight Rumble at level 6, you must make sure that he has 0 bar under him. You cannot let him access his empowered flamethrower or get hit by 2 of his E's. There's so much Rumble has going for him in this lane that it makes it feel impossible to win. You can just barely do it at level 6 with Ignite and making sure he has no flamethrower prepped and dodging at least 1 of his E's. But just realize how much I'm saying to make sure that you win this, right? Rumble doesn't even have to fight you. He just beats you for so long. At 3 items, you finally can start destroying this guy. But it takes so long to get there because this champion is such a lane bully that it delays your item spikes. Like, while you're getting bullied in lane, you're missing a CS here, a CS there, maybe even a full wave if you're forced to reset on a bad timer. So yes, you do win 3 items plus, but getting there feels so impossible against this champion. Not Haunting, guys. Abyssal Mask is very good into him. For those that don't know, it got a mini rework, and now it's a Void Staff item. So you can go things like Nashor's Riftmaker into Abyssal Mask, and you're going to shred him. My core in solo queue right now is Nashor's into Shadow Flame. So if you're feeling cocky, you can do that and then go into a Void Staff. But if you want more consistency, I recommend Riftmaker into Abyssal Mask for this champion. But yeah, this setup I feel like is very key into the Rumble. Sets. So Set does have the lane agency early, because if he lands a stunned E on you, he wins. But if Set either misses his E or you dodge out of it with your E, that's when you're gonna win. It's revolved around his E press, but if he misses it, that's when you win. So that's why it's here. It's like, yes, he does have the agency, meaning he does have the advantage, meaning you're in disadvantage. But one bad E, and it's this. So we're just meeting in the middle here. Also, BC Penguins, thanks for the follow. One thing into the Set matchup, though. Run Tenacity, Rin. It's inevitable that he will land a stun on you. So if he does land a stun on you, you have Bone Plating and Tenacity to fall back on. And it just makes it very easy. Also, use your E on reaction to dodge a Set Empowered W. If you're running in a straight line away from Set as well, and you're about to get hit by the center spot, at the edge of Set's W, you can press your own W and you will be immune to it. But just at the edge. So if you're about to get hit by the side spot guaranteed, but you're about midway through his W, run it in the straight line away, and before you take the true damage, press W, and you will take 0 damage. When do you recommend Flash over Ghost Ignite? I never recommend Flash on Gwen. Your E is a Flash on a 3-second cooldown later in the game. I think Ghost is more... Or sorry, I brain lagged. I think Ghost is much better utilized because of the fact that your Ghost will let you move to the next target to get the next auto attack, so you have your next Flash up in 3 seconds. And then Ignite is for safety in lane, whether it be to say, hey, don't kill me, against like things like Riven, cut healing like Fiora, or potentially even win 1v2s when you get ganked because you're dominating a GP so hard. Also, small little bonus, never ignite GP if he has orange. Ignite him after. For those that are watching on YouTube and watching this whole thing, use that for the GP matchup as well. Alright, yeah, we're on Shen. So earlier, I talked about how Ornn is a champion that does deal good amounts of damage to Gwen and can consistently beat her early game. But the later the game goes on, the better it gets for her. Shen is the exact same thing. Shen's W stops auto attacks. That's very annoying for Gwen. Shen does a massive amounts of damage when he pulls the sword through you. Once he gets Tiamat, it's the same exact thing as Ornn. He perma-clears the wave and just does not want to interact with you. If he does interact with you, it's because he's going to be winning the fight. He's going to taunt you and then pull the sword through you. The second you're untaunted, he's going to press W. Hell, he can even press W while you're taunted just to deal no damage. Or just so you deal no damage. So, literally, same 1-for-1 of Ornn versus Shen. Or Shen and Ornn. At around 2 items, that's when you start beating these guys. But at 1 item, they're just trying to play very uninteractive into you. Like, these are the same exact lane situations and setups. If you want, I would say potentially run Tenacity into Shen. I would say more often than not, junglers will look for a Shen lane more than an Ornn lane. Because Shen's CC is more instant than Ornn's. Ornn has to prep it. So this is better into Shen. It also says slow resistance, so it also works on Shen's sword pull. So you can do that if you want. Can you dodge Shen E with your E or... No, that works. You can dodge the right or left of Shen E and you will get away from it. Oh, we're on Singed. I know someone was asking about Singed. Okay, so there are 2 situations that I'm going to talk through. And those are Singed playing the laning phase and Singed proxying. This is what happens when Singed players turn their brain off and go for the proxy like they do every game. Now, why is that? The reason is that Gwen is content with going even for the entire laning phase because Gwen is a scaling monster. So if you're getting 6 CS a minute, or sorry, 6 CS a wave, and as the Gwen player, you are letting the minions come under your tower, and you are getting all 6 of your minions, that is beneficial. And then the thought process comes, oh wait, but you know, the minions are hurting the tower. And then he gets plate advantage. Well, no, actually. Because for the first few minutes, the minions aren't going to deal too much damage to the tower. So you use that timing to build up a nice amount of money. Usually like a blasting wand. And so long as it's not a cannon minion wave, you just one-shot it with blasting wand. And even when it's a cannon wave, Singed is all the way over by your tier 2 tower just proxying to his heart's content. So he's not going to come try to stop you from last hitting the wave. You're going to have all your cooldowns, like, you're going to have all your cooldowns off. And Singed can't punish it, because he's being dumb, and he's proxying. Never proxy into Gwen, unless it's for a good reset. If you're turning your brain off and proxying the entire laning phase, this Gwen is going to win, because she can do the same exact thing. She's content with this situation, and she will destroy you. Now, Singed in lane, though, is a little bit harder, because Singed has flip, he has poison, so you can't really chase him. He has grounded, which is very annoying for mobile champs such as Gwen, and then he also has his ult for sustained fights. And he applies Grievous Wounds when he does press R. So it becomes more like this. But the thing is Singed players are just so content with this whole proxy farm aspect that they just never consider the fact that the opponent is fine with this. The opponent wants this to happen. So for Singed players, please, if you want to win this matchup, stop proxying. Go fighter. It's scary, but your tools can beat Gwen. They can beat Gwen, not convincingly, but you have a good chance of beating her. So that's my little spiel. This is what you should run. I think Ghost has a lot of merit when you do see a Singed on the enemy team, because it's so hard to catch him. That being said, though, the Ignite is good, too, because he's going to run Conqueror, and he's going to also heal a lot with his ult. So, personal preference at that point. If you want to play into the Singed wet dream of chasing him, run Ghost. If you want to just stand and fight your ground with a Singed, run Ignite. But I'm going to put Singed right here, because Singed players just will not stop proxying against me. It is crazy how consistently I get 10 CS a minute in this lane. And if Singed dies once to you, he can never win again. Even if he dies once, it's not entirely over for him just because of his kit. His kit has very good answers to your kits. Like, he can flip, like, when you 4-stack Q him, he can flip you before the final Q. Yeah, that's my little spiel of Singed. Alright, who's next? Sion. The easiest to match up in the game next to Mundo. I honestly prefer Sion, but these are the same exact thing. You have so many answers to this champion. If he can never land a Q on you, if he lands a Q on you, it's because he Q-tapped you, or you literally have your monitor off. At a max range Q, you can press W, you can dash to the left, you can dash to the right. If you're in melee range with the Sion, you dash behind him. If he presses W, you press Q. It will insta-pop his shield. If he presses W and your Q's on cooldown, 2 E auto attacks, his shield's down. There's nothing this champion can do with his buttons to actually stop you. He can build tank, he can build AD, it does not matter. Because so long as your monitor is on, you're gonna win this lane. Run whatever rune you want, and just profit. Smolder! Alright, so for those that watch my YouTube videos, you saw me get dogged on by a Smolder probably a week or so ago. I was unknowing of Smolder's early game pressure. I did not realize that he had level 1 damage like that. This matchup is not hard though. Respect is level 1, unlike me. He actually does good damage early. Make sure to just soak XP early. He's gonna push into you. Even if he doesn't want to push into you, the second he gets 25 stacks, he's now permanently pushed or forced to. He has Tiamat and it built into his kit at that point. Go even. Even when he gets 600 Q stacks, you can beat him. Run Ghost, utilize your W, to make sure that you circumvent some of the damage he's about to deal and just burst him. This champion is not hard to beat as Gwen. I just made it look extremely impossible in my last video against this champion. Right, TK? Yeah, TK. A lot, honestly, this might even be a third guy, because I have very similar things to say about these. The only difference is that Gwen will destroy a TK early. Once he gets level 6, though, for those that played against full power Skarner after his rework, his whole identity top is to try to kidnap you under the tower and then find a cheese kill that way. Just when you're by enemy tower, keep an eye on where he's standing. Make sure you're not getting 3 stacked, because then he can gobble you up and spit you out under the tower. Then that's GG. Once he gets 1 item, it's typically going to be Hollowed Radiance, and he's going to do the same thing that Ornn and Shen do, where they just ignore you and then walk away. You will always be able to beat this champion, so long as there's not a tower around. So just please, for the love of God, when you're by that enemy tower and you think that you're him, you're not. You're gonna get stunned, you're gonna get gobbled up, it's gonna be GG, and you're gonna feel so bad and frustrated at this lane if you let that happen. Also, bone plating, because grasp autos are kind of ridiculous. He will grasp auto and then Q you, so reducing a little bit of the damage is very nice. If you do disrespect Tahm Kench though, and you want to have some fun, do this. I would typically do this only if you think your team is going to play for grubs. If you have a duo that plays jungle, ask, hey, are you prioritizing grubs? If they say yes, do this. Because then you can just walk under tower, demolish auto, dash away, and you can get an advantage that way. To the point where you don't even need to interact with Tahm Kench to get a massive advantage. Trundle. So, I played against Trundle top a few months ago, and that was probably one of the most infuriating experiences of my life. And when I say Trundle top, I mean the Trundle top. He's a Trundle OTP streamer. He ran Ravenous Hydra, and every time we traded, I would watch this man walk to the wave, auto, Hydra, kill all 6 minions, heal 12% max health from his passive, as well as the lifesteal from Ravenous. I don't know what to do against that. I have beaten Trundle players that are not him, but if a Trundle plays like this, I genuinely don't have any advice for you, because that is so disgusting to play against. And then later in the game, he's going to press R and steal your stats. I truly do not know how I should have played that lane when I did. But for regular Trundles that are not OTPs, bone plating, massive value in the lane. Steel caps feel very required into this champion, you know. His Q is an auto attack enhancer. He's going to beat you with his club over and over and over again. He's going to have Trinity Force more often than not. So just making sure that his auto attacks are dealing less damage is crucial throughout the entire game. Even though they were nerfed, they're still very good in this lane. Run Ignite to circumvent some of his healing that I was talking about earlier. And always play around his PTA proc. You want to make sure to never give him a full press the attack proc for free. Let alone at all, basically. Just use mindful positioning and make sure that if he does press W, you fight him outside of that area, because he has a massive attack speed steroid and movement speed steroid inside of that area. So it's harder to land your hits while he also gets enhanced hits. Tryndamere. Now, you do lose this matchup. The video I posted today was Tryndamere versus Gwen. I announced that I was doing this tier list. I felt I played it very, very well. But I also feel like Tryndamere misstepped quite a bit in the lane. So, while people might think it's here after watching the video, I truly think it's here. At level 6, he has a lot of agency. I've had situations where he's popped my bone plating, and then he pushed a fat wave under my tower, and he one-shot me from like 98% HP. All he did was auto me once for the bone plating, and then I was gone. So, respect this champion. If they build Tiamat, you are golden for the rest of the lane, because he's going to perma push under your tower, and you're just going to be able to collect it for free. Now, you might be asking, oh, but you said that he hit you once with bone plating, pushed to your tower, and then killed you. Yes, but I was forced to walk up for my minions in that situation. When Tryndamere builds Tiamat, the lane is always going to come into me. So that means I never have to go threaten my bone plating. I don't have to risk my bone plating proc, so that I always have it under my tower and I'm completely safe. But this is the setup. Steel caps are very crucial, but having AP is also crucial. What I typically enjoy doing is buying an early cloth armor on a cheater recall, because at level 1, with no fury, you can beat this champion. It's a lot like Darius, where he's going to try to cheese you in level 1 bush. But if that doesn't happen, and you have access to the wave first, start autoing for Q procs. If he walks up to try to gain fury, full stack Q him, and then start hitting him consistently, because he cannot respond back unless he has full crit in the early game. So if that happens, you're able to get a cheater recall off. I opt in for the cloth armor. After a cloth armor, I'll opt into a blasting wand and trying to go into the Nashor's Tooth. If I have to reset and I'm on 700 gold, or around 700 gold, instead of buying the recurve bow, obviously I'll work more towards the steel caps, because recurve bow is not a good spike on Gwen. It is not a good item on Gwen. Dude. I'm so glad TF top isn't a a thing anymore. I don't gotta talk about it because it's not. It doesn't exist. It's finally gone. It was annoying. It was not hard. It's a lot of same situations as Quinn. So if I had to rank it, it would be like here. But like, you don't gotta deal with it anymore. Just every time he would throw a gold card, you would press your W, then you would look for the all-in. And since the lane was so long, you could usually find the kill if he ended up pushing. If you were frozen on, though, he would gold card you, call it for his jungle, GG. But man, I'm so glad that that's gone, because it was just very nullifying. Like my neurons in my head were just dulled during those few patches and during the few times I played against it. Honestly, we'll rank it. I literally just talked about TF long enough to have that be a section. So there you go. You made it, buddy. Even though you're not a top laner anymore, thankfully. Thoughts on Heimer top? Ooh, we forgot about Heimer. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, no, I did have Heimer for my list. Yeah. Okay, so this is also like singed, okay? Heimer will be perma pushing to your lane, to your tower with his turrets. So farming under tower for free is super, super consistent and beneficial for you. Run this setup and never look for solo kills. Never call for jungle. If your jungler wants to gank you, backping them. Heimer is a champion that does not care if the jungler's top, because he wants to pull the jungler top so he can win these 1v2 situations. Because if the jungler ganks, you are forced to go in. Just play like a Gragas would. Just completely uninteractive. get an early null magic mantle if you want, get a refillable pot under tower, and then work towards your Nasus. You're not planning to win this guy by fighting him, you're planning to beat him later in the game when you're 2 items. This is different from Cinch though, because yes, he will get plates for this situation. You can trade back some Q presses on him a little bit, and then if he's around half HP, you can utilize your W to immune the stun grenade and get the one shot off. Or not the one shot off, but the 50% lethal range off. Yeah. D-Shield, no magic mantle, refill pot, all amazing into this champion. Don't plan for killing, just plan for last hitting under your tower. Yeah, thank you for reminding me about Heimer. about Heimer. Vayne, the original range top laner. This is a very annoying lane. This is probably the hardest range top laner, if we don't count Cassiopeia. Not much to say though. She's very fragile, like all range top laners. The reason disadvantage exists here too is because this also states like, oh, jungle intervention gets you back into the game. So if you have your jungler relieve some pressure off of this Vayne and helps you break a freeze or even gets you a kill or some summoner spells, the lane becomes much more playable. Level 6, you're never really looking to fight. You're looking to just kind of exist, and running this setup shows that. Just get your D-Shield, and if you want to try to play aggro, if you're playing with a duo that will relieve pressure for you 100% guarantee, you can go the D-Ring, and then just try to bully her. Because if she messes up once, if she gets one bad recall off, one bad death, you win from there on out. Just a very fragile champion that Gwen in isolation can't deal with, but in a team game, this champion will fall over. Oh, we're almost done. Vladimir. I don't know why people keep picking Vlad into Gwen, top lane. Gwen scales better. Gwen bullies him in lane better. Gwen can find lethal ranges due to the fact that Vladimir does not have a laning phase. All you gotta do is when you see Vlad have his red bar filled up, walk back. He's gonna gain movement speed and his next Q is gonna crit. Make sure that he's always queuing a minion for that, because he will get a massive amount of damage on you, and then that's it for the lane. Vladimirs typically don't run teleport, so one bad death, and you are chilling for the rest of the laning phase. That being said, though, you're not going to get much help from your jungler, as well as the jungler's not going to look for you, typically, because Vladimir just cannot set up ganks, so it's a very isolated 1v1 that you win. The second Vladimir presses pull, you have about a 22-second window to look for a lethal range. Trading under his tower is beneficial, like 1-for-1. Because if you're trading under tower, that typically means that your minions are already under his tower, meaning that it's going to push back into you, and Vladimir is going to be susceptible to a gank, or you're just going to repeat the situation of bullying him. Right? There's not really any like micro things you got to do against this champion. Just kind of play the laning phase out, play away from the red Q. That's all this matchup is. Play away from the red Q. You're always going to outscale a Vladimir. Volibear, right? Yeah, we're on Volibear already. Let's go. I lost him. Chat, where did he go? Oh, there he is. Okay, Mr. Bear. You win. You never win early game, though. Volibear has one of the strongest pushes in the entire game. He's going to press E on the wave. Oh, whoops. He's going to press E on the wave. He's going to get a shield. He's going to get his empowered auto attacks and just perma push into you early game. Level 6, you will start being able to fight him. And this is where this setup comes into play. I love doing this into Volibear players. Now, what this does, Triple Tonic, I'll explain it because I haven't had it in this entire discussion. It gives you 3 potions at level 3, 6, and 9. The one we're going to talk about is level 6. When you press it, for the next 60 or 90 seconds, I forget the exact one, you get 20 adaptive. That is 400 gold worth of AP. So the second you both get level 6, if he presses all his buttons on you, his stun, his E, take that fight. Pop the potion, ignite him so he doesn't get healing off of his W, and just go in. You're gonna win this fight. You use this potion at level 6 to absolutely obliterate Volibear. It is super nice. And if he never looks for the fight, just don't use it. You don't want to look for small little nickel and dime trades because of the fact that his W is a massive, massive heal once he gets the second bite off. So just holding this potion in pairing with Ignite makes it impossible for you to lose the isolated 1v1. Yeah. Rush Nashers, get Merc Treads. Merc Treads also very important. I don't advise going this. I think the Merc Treads are just very valuable. Yes, he's auto-attacking a lot, but I just feel like this HP is very, very nice and necessary for the level 6 all-in that he can potentially do to you, and that you can turn this with the extra 60 HP you'll have at level 6. Alright, Warwick. The cheese man himself. I lost him again. They keep ending up here. Very volatile. It's a cheese pick top. Everyone that's played against Warwick has been solo killed when he's 100 HP and they press barrier and they heal to half and then they get you. Just don't fight him. That's all I can say. Don't fight him until 2 items. It's very nullifying like a Gragas, but Gragas has the push potential. He has the threat of, oh hey, I'm going to push this wave under tower and then start poking you. Warwick can just kind of hit the tower with, or sorry, just hit the minions with Tiamat, push under your tower. If he doesn't go that, then you can walk up, just press Q when he's last hitting melees. You damage him a little bit, which does not matter, but more importantly, you're getting your last hits. And Presence of Mind will keep your mana topped off because you're also hitting the Warwick if he's trying to run up and trade a hit for you. Run Second Wind. From my personal experience, the Bone Plating just will always fall off into this Warwick matchup. So the Second Wind, just to top your HP off just a little bit more, it just feels very beneficial to me. But yeah, just remember 2 items. You don't want to really fight him until that. You need to run Ignite. Ignite is super crucial, obviously, because he has healing. Steel Caps work very, very well into him. So Nashor's Steel Caps, maybe you could try to fight there if Warwick is not ahead whatsoever from collecting some potential plates, or maybe picked up a roam. Oh, we forgot about Tito. You win. Oh, but he stops auto attacks, Killer G. Yeah, no, this champion just falls over to Gwen. Get a red trinket. When mid game starts, you're gonna be fine. Run Second Wind, run D Shield. I know people have lost to like Ignite Fleet Teemo. I've played against it. I've learned against it. It's just, this champion's gonna be annoying. You're gonna be frustrated. Then you're gonna get a Blasting Wand with Ignite and ulti, and he's gonna just fall over. If you're truly having problems and it feels like this to you, call for a jungler. Junglers love bullying Teemos because of the shrooms that they've had to deal with for the past 8 or so minutes when they tried to walk through river. Oh, also Merc Treads to reduce the blind can be very huge. If you want to get steel caps for the enemy team, you can do this, because that extra 60 HP does not matter in this one specifically, because you're not trying to fight him all that much. It's just he's going to misstep. The Teemo player is going to get cocky. He is going to misstep because you are respecting him. So you're giving him space. So he's going to overstep one of these times, and that's when you strike. So that's why the 60%, or sorry, not the 60%. The 60 HP doesn't matter too much. Also, the second wind, the D-shield, they're going to reset on the poison procs. You're going to be typically around 70 to 80% HP. Teemo can't break that with just Ignite and Fleet Footwork. And if they run PTA, then your trades back and forth when you were just going for minions and standing your ground a little bit, it's going to be more than enough to break him. Also, if you see the Q mid-air when it's thrown at you, just press W. Then you don't get blinded. You can look for a potential all-in if you want to run Ghost and Ignite. I advise against that because I much prefer the TP and just chilling out for the first little bit of this lane. But this is the setup I run with D-Shield. Alright, we're almost there. Just double checking. Yone. Champion's very annoying. Blade of the Rune King, super broken item. I wouldn't say you need a jungle agency to actually deal with this guy, but you do need to keep track of his E and W timers. You can only fight Yone when both E and W are off CD. So you have about, I believe it's a 9-second window. Urgot, thank you, I'll go back to him. You have about a 9-second window, I believe Yone's W is. You cannot let that shield get value in this little 1v1. You cannot let his E get damage off on you for free, because it's just very annoying. Now, Yone will typically, in top lane, use his E and W to pop your bone plating so that you can't use it for 55 seconds. That's why I run Second Wind. If he's going to do that to me, I'm just going to run Second Wind, or I'm going to run Demolish. I'm never going to run bone plating into Yone, because it's just not worth it. It truly is not worth it. I run TP Ignite as summoners and just rush Nashers as quick as possible. If I'm lasting better than this Yone, I will end up getting Nashers before he gets Bork, and I'll just beat him in that little isolated 1v1 because he is forced to buy early Grievous, or sorry, not Grievous wounds, Berserker Greaves. So 9 out of 10 times you are hitting your first item spike. Also, one little side note, Yone's ult is coded as a blink, so it will go through your W. You won't get pulled and knocked up into it. It's just going to... It's going to look very buggy if he ults and you press W while you're in the center of it. That's how it technically is supposed to work, and it's in our benefit for this matchup. Yeah, thank you for retelling me about Urgot. Oh, I grabbed him and I just didn't move him. Urgot, you have the advantage up until level 13. At level 13, he can start finding lethal ranges on you. Because he just flips you behind, ults you, and then just walks around you. You must respect this champion level 1. This champion has an insane level 1, such like Kayle, Darius, champs like that. When you get flipped, he's going to have a shield, and then he's going to shotgun you. And at that point, the lane's over. Early game is always revolved around his E. Dodging this E is super crucial. It's literally a 1-for-1 of Illaoi, but obviously Urgot has a little more range to him, He has a little more distance that you need to close. And if you try to commit your E to close that distance, he has an E prepped for you. That's why it's not here, because when you close the distance on Illaoi, you're there. When you close the distance on Urgot, it's a little bit more tricky because he wants you to close the distance with your dash ability so he can just get a guaranteed E on you. So I would say never use your E proactively or instantaneously for a little trade back and forth. Use your W to walk forward and press auto Q on him. If he ends up pressing E, just dash up or down. It's wide, but you can get through it if you're on one of his halves. Or get around it, sorry, not through it. Don't dash through him. I don't know what will happen to you. I've never attempted. Yorick, I think, is the last... No, there's two. Zac and Yorick. Yorick's volatile. It's a very annoying champion. Very, very annoying champion. With a little asterisk of when Maiden is active. This champion does not exist when Maiden is not on the screen with you. Levels 1 to 5, you dominate this guy. Use that early advantage to get first priority on the wave. Play levels 1 to 5. Look to reset then. You're going to have a Blasting Wand and maybe some potions, maybe some other components if you last hit like a god. You can even go Steel Caps and maybe even have enough for an Amp Tome or a Dark Seal as well. The second level 6 happens, the lane changes. Your goal is for Maiden to die. Now, the way you do that is Maiden is always going to push the wave, right? The second Yorick feels confident and starts going for tower plates, hit not him, but the Maiden. Using your resources on the Maiden is beneficial because the second that Maiden leaves the screen, he is a sitting duck. There's nothing this champion can do in isolation. So you beat him by not beating him, but beating Yorick, or Maiden. You don't beat Yorick by beating Yorick, you beat Yorick by beating Maiden. And then you can play the game. I've seen some Yoricks run Eclipse, so keep that in mind if you look for trades on him after the Maiden goes off CD. But this champion just kind of keels over once Maiden's off the screen. Alright, Zac. This might be the one top laner that's a tank that just straight out beats Gwen. I could be wrong about this, but it just feels so impossible for me. If there's any Zac players that would love to discuss this matchup with me, and they think opposite of me, I'm more than open to a discussion because it feels very not polarizing, constricting. This champion will trade your HP bar, heal it back by his blobs. If you, at level 6, for any second think that you can solo kill him, even with ult and ignite, he's going to use his ult, have last stand, potentially, with Conqueror, and just heal to 50-60% HP. And if you don't die in that 1v1, what's going to happen is that you're going to play the next wave, he's going to go back to full HP, and he's either going to dive you solo or call for his jungler. I feel so lost against this specific tank in the laning phase, so if there are any Zac players that would love to discuss this and think that I am wrong, please let me know. Would Lichbane be a good item against the Oracle? Nasus is better. You could go Lichbane like third, potentially, but I love going Nasus into Shadowflame and then just playing for one-shots on the Yorick, because Yorick just, again, keels over without Maiden. He's sitting gold when Maiden's not on the screen. Alright, I believe that covers everyone, but as you guys can see, I left one section up. Now, I want to just show some champions that I think do beat Gwen, but are not obviously going to lane against her. If you need a top lane ban, anything from disadvantage down, I think you should ban as the Gwen player. But I'm not going to talk about these too much. Lilia, massive movement speed boost. Just very hard to catch. Where is she? Where's Samira? Samira has a wind wall that's built into her kit, so your needles can fall off on her. Again, like these champions don't counter you outright, but it's like if you don't want to ban any of these champions, feel free to ban one of these. Yasuo is the same as Samira, but Yasuo can also build Bork, so it's more annoying. Zillion, you're going to use your full combo on someone, he's going to revive them, and then you're just kind of sitting duck because you don't have needles anymore to throw, and you usually commit your W on your initial all-in. And then lastly, what's it called? I can't find him. Echo. This champion actually outscales Gwen. This is one of the few champions in League of Legends that actually outscales Gwen. Another one would be potentially Acel, but I think Echo does it the most consistently, and it's the most easy to play. Like, his 3-hit passive later in the game is literally just going to one-shot you. He's going to E, Q, auto, run away, do it a second time, and then you're gone. If he's fed enough, then it's going to be a legit one-shot. Right? And then the last one for here, Nyla. Nyla literally has Jack's counter. She can give it to her team, and she just heals so much. Typically, you want to pair Nyla with engage supports, but if they pair this with a Soraka, Gwen literally can't play League of Legends because the Soraka is gonna throw silence under your feet. Then Nyla's just gonna free hit you. Here, we'll put Soraka here too. Like, these are together. So, like, just ban the Nyla, obviously, but these two together, ridiculous. Nyla herself, insane. But yeah, this is my list, and I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something. Peace out.